This afternoon here at Hillside Acres. This is Lee. We're going to do a little garden tour today as an intro and a first episode. Show you where we are on June 1st. We're located here in Zone 6 in southwestern Ohio. It's a cloudy day, had just a little rain just a few minutes ago. We want to show you today what no-dig gardening can do. I just want to give you an overview of what I'm growing and a little bit of history of this garden. And then we'll start to delve into subjects specifically from here on forward. Maybe upon request from you out there, if you want a specific topic, but I've got a lot of them. I've got a lot of them in my pocket we can talk about. Today's just going to be a general thing. So we're going to take a walk and I'm just going to expound on what I see. Some things might have a little discussion about, some things we'll breeze right by, and you'll get an idea that yes, you can grow a large amount of food without tilling the soil, without using chemicals, without using pesticides. I've been gardening here since 1983, and nary an ounce of chemical has been put on this garden, or pesticide, herbicide, a lot of manure, a lot of organic material. And now I've been no-dig for 6 years. So that's a whole different approach to gardening, and that's what I'm really trying to get across to everybody, is that this is an easier way to garden and a much more natural way to garden. So we'll take a walk and we'll cruise around and just look at what we've got going on the 1st of June. Greenhouse is empty. A little bit of stuff growing in here. It's got some watermelons, some early tomatoes, but by and large the shelves are bare and I'm getting ready to start wildflowers now. I was glad to get everything out and get everything planted before the 1st of June. So we'll head down the aisles and just see what's going on. Right here on the edge, we started a new patch of strawberries this first year. They were in the cooler all winter. I got these from a friend. Honey O is the variety. So this is kind of a nursery bed. I'm going to start some bigger patches from this year. So we got that going. There's sunflowers growing. You'll notice there's a lot of arbitrary planting and a lot of volunteers in the garden. A lot of things get a free ride. Sunflowers come up here and there because the seed get in the compost. They go through, or they seed out from last year's plants. There's a big giant mullein plant growing here behind me that just sprouted up right in the middle of that last year. So this is its 2nd year. You can just see that's a common plant, how healthy the plants are that sustain and live in here for more than even a year. Red potatoes, red Pontiac potatoes. I planted these, I thought a little bit too early this year. We had 2 freezes and about 3 frosts here. These were planted pretty early. They were up when we got the first freeze, but they weathered through it. We covered some stuff, and they're blooming now. They're getting ready to bloom anyway. We've got some beetroot here. I think these were the first ones that we brought out of the greenhouse. They went through a couple freezes, but no worse for wear. They did okay. So I'm a little bit of a risk taker on timing, because sometimes that's to beat pests, sometimes that's to beat heat. If you wait until now, or Mother's Day, as many people do, to plant your garden, in my estimation, you've burned a month of growing time. So that's changed a little bit in this area, in this zone, from what it used to be because of the volatility of the temperatures in the spring. But get out there and plant, especially if you're starting your own plants. Start twice as many plants as you need. And if you lose them, replant. I had to do that with my cabbage this year, so that happens. We got some garden peas, just a few, just to put in the freezer. They're blooming, they look nice. Some beets thrown down at the bottom here, and just wherever there's an open space, I'm planting something. One of the tenets of no-dig gardening is to leave no uncovered soil. So we'll get into that as a subject on a different episode in depth, but you won't see too much bare earth in my garden ever. and there's a reason for that. And some tomatoes. We've got lettuce poked in here and there and everywhere in the garden, and we've been eating lettuce religiously about every night. These are candy onions. Here's an example. Milkweed just comes up. It comes up all over the place because I've always got milkweed growing. It seeds out, it comes up. Maybe it's in the compost, I don't know. It gets a free ride. It's the host plant for an endangered butterfly, so monarch butterflies depend on that. So we've got a lot of flowers too. Nothing's really blooming much yet, but keep a lot of flowers all around the garden. There's even some mint growing right here at the end of the potatoes in an enclosure to try to keep it under control. But sweet mint, great stuff, makes great tea, and we drink a lot of tea. This is a patch of watermelon that it struggled in that colder weather we had here a couple weeks ago. It's starting to recover now, but it looks a little rough. I think it'll come out of it once it gets rooted good. It's no comparison to my watermelon in the greenhouse. It looks beautiful, but this has had some hard times out here. Got cabbage planted all over the garden. This has got a little damage on it from pill bugs. Pill bugs will eat a considerable amount of foliage on a plant, and particularly beans, particularly when they're just really young and tender. If you've got pill bugs, that may not be a bad thing because it may mean that you've got a lot of organic material in your soil because they're shredders, and that's what they do. They live in amongst all this mulch, and they eat their share, but we get ours, so it's all right. These are some volunteer garlic that I must have missed, and they came up. This is wild garlic, and some spring onions, kale, some leeks, some flowers, whatever. I don't really have much of a plan when I plant. I just start planting some things in blocks, potatoes, beets, corn, but then I just try to throw plants indiscriminately around the garden for diversity. That's what you're looking for in your garden, is not just monocropping row after row, but trying to blend aromatic plants, flowers, plants of all types, and interspersed among the garden. Way better, always better. I don't know how well the camera catches the colors of this cornflowers, but they're pretty awesome. So some tomatoes. This bed is a hodgepodge, just like I was saying. I've got chamomile on the end, got some golden beets planted behind that, a pepper, some lettuce, some cabbage, tomatoes, climbing beans, ceremonial tobacco, milkweed, buckwheat, flowers, tomatoes, sunflowers. It's just whatever. This was a whatever bed that was left over, and the things I had left, I kind of planted in here, so that's fine. That's good. That helps your diversity. The corn over here went through 2 freezes, but I'll be honest with you, I don't think June 1st you're going to find any taller corn anywhere. This is incredible. If it holds up to the wind from the southwest and the coons, we'll be having some sweet corn. But I've never had great success growing sweet corn here because we're surrounded by wooded areas and the coons are pretty bad. So, and they'll wait until you're almost ready to pick it, and a couple days before you're ready, they'll clean you out. We've got some tomatoes coming on. Most every tomato plant is carrying, ping pong ball size tomatoes on it. These are Yukon Gold. I've got 3 different kinds of potatoes, actually 4 different kinds of potatoes growing out here. And all this stuff was started, of course the corn wasn't, the potatoes weren't. The tomatoes, all the plants, we started everything from seed. Seed saving is a big part of gardening. You don't want to rely on your local your local store to get seed. You should be able to grow heirloom varieties. In most cases, that's not the case with this corn. But with most varieties, most plants, you should be able to save seed, carry it over, start it yourself. It's not a big task at all, not at all. Blackberries, terrible year for blackberries. The winter kill was really bad, and I got some cane borers in this. From year to year, everything in your garden, something thrives, something fails or does poorly, and if you expect everything to do really well every year, not going to happen. Something's always going to suffer. You're going to have a cold, wet, and the brassicas are going to do well. You're going to have a really warm spring, hot, and the peppers and the tomatoes do well. It just varies, but we did have a pretty hard winter, and it's hard on the canes, and then I did have some cane borers. So I have a little bit of fruit, but not much here. There's a much bigger patch down below, same problem, but we'll have enough for maybe a little wine or maybe some juice. So this was an asparagus bed for 40 some years until last week. and now it's in cover crops, it's in some lettuce. I planted that earlier than last week, but I just broke all the asparagus off. It was depleted and very sparse, so I planted some brassicas in here. I'm just breaking the asparagus off as it comes up. Eventually it'll weaken and it'll quit doing that. So part of the tenet of no-dig gardening is, don't disturb the soil. And that doesn't mean you can't scratch around on the surface. What that really means is don't disturb the rhizosphere, which is the area 3 to 6 inches below the surface. That's where most of the biological activity is taking place, in the root zone of the plants. So you can scratch around on top, you can run a scuffle hoe, or you could rake. That's not a problem. Digging, tilling, inverting, churning the soil is so detrimental, and it causes weeds. And if you look around, you're not going to see a lot of weeds. I go through here once a week or so and pick the small weeds that pop up, but I don't have big weed problems. So I probably would have less if I didn't mulch the way I do, because I'm using organic materials to mulch with, and they're full of seeds, and they're going to leave them in the ground. You're not going to get them all back off, and that's okay. It doesn't matter. What does matter is that you've not disturbed the soil, and we'll talk about that in length, just totally that in another episode. So, and over here in the rest of the asparagus patch, some chamomile popped up on its own. Looks really nice. About ready to pick that, dry it. There's a blackberry plant that's got shot up there off of this patch, and it can grow there. I'm okay with that. This is sun hemp and cowpeas, which complement each other very well. The cowpeas, both of these plants are nitrogen fixers, so while they're growing, they're going to be pumping nitrogen into the soil. They're going to grow probably 5 to 6 feet tall, lots of forage, high in protein. Feed that to the chickens. We'll just cut it off and plant right into it when we plant our strawberries. This is going to be a new strawberry patch right here. And same with this area over here. It's just planted in a cover crop. It's a buckwheat, a warm weather crop. Good, grows very quickly, matures in several weeks. Again, I can cut it, feed it to the chickens. I can lay it down before it sets seed and just make a green mulch and plant into it. Lots of options. Just keep the ground covered. Keep something growing everywhere. That's what, look in nature. Where is there bare ground? Nowhere. Unless we make it, unless we disturb it. But in nature, there is no bare ground. There is a plant feeding the soil. It's not the soil feeding the plant. The plant is feeding the biology in the soil. That's the big catch that you've got to bring into this, is that plants are not drawing from the soil. Plants are actually giving to the soil. It's part of a cycle. And when you get that in your mind, and I can convince you how that works, it's like a light goes on and you go, that's how it works. That's how the whole system works. And it's just a matter of putting a plant in the ground where you want it and letting it grow. And that's what we're doing here. So, and it works, believe me. Cherry tomatoes, some snapdragons in front. They look cool. They're really nice colors when they start blooming. All this stuff is still obviously very immature in June. But the tomatoes are off to a great start. These are red cherry tomatoes, real small, super, super sweet. Great in salads, great just to munch on. We got a little bed of kale here, lacinato. We like kale. We're using about 3 different things as bases in our smoothies. We're using a lot of carrots, we're using a lot of sweet potatoes, and we're using kale, or combinations of all those things. And we like our smoothies. And throw some raspberry and some chocolate protein powder in there, and man, you got a great snack in between meals. So we do that quite often. There's a different kind of potato, and here's what I'm talking about with the flea beetles, because I can see flea beetle damage already. Flea beetle damage is that. They feed on the underside of the leaf. It's a tiny black insect about the size of a pencil lead. There's one on that leaf right there, and they hop. That one just dropped off. They generally will hop. So they are in my potatoes. That one just jumped right up straight in the air. Now you have to gauge on, do I need to do a control for that? Do I need to run to the store and get some 7 and put on there? No. Let nature just take care of this. The plant will take care of itself unless there's a massive infestation. So you'd have to watch it. This is why in the mornings I like to come out here with my coffee. I just walk around, I look at stuff. Now I didn't notice this today. I noticed it on some arugula that we'll look at later. And I saw that. I told Kat that we've got some flea beetles out there. I don't know if they're in the potatoes yet, but they look like they are starting to. They are worse when it's hot. They are not active when it's cool. So usually you're looking at the flea beetles emerging much later than 1st of June. But this year's kind of wacky, this is a different type of tomato. It's a pear, yellow pear tomato, nice in salads. Some really nice lettuce. We can hardly keep up with the lettuce. I plant way more, so we always have lettuce, and we always have lettuce coming on, and I've got a lettuce hut I put up to do lettuce further into the year. When it starts to get really hot, it's tough growing lettuce here. So you need to do it under shade, actually. Some red onions and purple sweet potatoes. They're in several locations. If you've not eaten purple sweet potatoes, I had some for sale, but they're gone. I got those from my daughter. They are super high in antioxidants, super anti-inflammatory, lower your blood pressure, help with blood sugar. I mean, you just name it. Research purple sweet potatoes, and you will find that this is a superfood. We've also found that baking them, splitting them, and pouring a little maple syrup in there is like heaven. They're really super good. They grow a little differently than other sweet potatoes. I think they're a lot more vigorous plant than typical sweet potatoes that you grow, the red or the Vardaman sweet potatoes. They tend to grow straight down, not off of a base in an angle and stay clumped right around that base. They tend to scatter a little bit more around the plant, and they grow straight down, which just makes them challenging to dig. I have to use a broad fork and just kind of keep loosening the soil because I'm trying not to invert the soil when I'm digging these. When you're harvesting potatoes, it's very difficult not to disturb the soil somewhat, but disturbing the soil, keeping the soil covered, there's 2 of the 4 tenets of no-dig gardening right there. Some more potatoes. I believe these are Yukon Gold. And they are also showing flea beetle damage now, I can see. Yep. But not to worry, not yet. Some spring onions down here and some arugula, which out in the garden, the arugula seems to attract a lot of insects. In the greenhouse, it was beautiful. We ate arugula in March. We were eating lettuce really early, and the lettuce in there now, I'm just letting go to seed. In the next aisle, we've got some garlic, which it looks like it's dying off, but what's happened to this garlic was, and I need to get the scapes off of it. I need to do that today. It withstood a couple of really hard freezes. It was up. It was 6 inches high, and it got some damage to the ends of the leaves. No problem. I mean, they got another month to grow yet, a month and a half to grow yet. Middle of July, we'll pull these up and start drying them. We've got 2 different varieties of garlic. This is Ukrainian garlic, and my daughter gave me some other garlic, and that's kind of mixed up, so it doesn't matter. It all goes together when we make it. We mix that 50-50 with avocado oil after we grind the garlic, and then mix it with the oil, put it in half-pint jars in the freezer, and then it's already ground up. It's ready to go. You keep a jar in the fridge. You need some garlic. It's already minced. Dish it out with a spoon, throw it in the pan. You don't have to get cloves out and peel them down and get a press out. It's just way handier, I think, to do it that way. I got that tip from Tom Bartel on YouTube, actually. Some more beetroot, more purple sweet potatoes. And you'll wonder, I actually pulled some loose dirt up to create these mounds from the top inch or so around the edges. And then this is just some buckwheat growing around the perimeter just to cover that bare ground. And I'll cut this off. It'll bloom, and I'll cut it off and lay it down. The sweet potatoes will crawl right over it. It's just organic material, and it's feeding the soil. The plant is feeding the soil, and that's what you want. So in a further episode, we'll talk more about how the photosynthesis works, what's going on under the ground here, but not disturbing it and having plants growing is not taking away from an adjacent plant or taking NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, not taking it out of the ground. It's actually adding to the soil to make it healthy. So, oh, there's some grapes here right behind me. I think we're gonna have some this year. These are Fredonia. They look pretty good. I don't spray a lot. I spray a little bit. I spray compost tea once a month, once every 3 weeks or so. And I'm due for that now, again. Other than that, I haven't been doing much at all to the grapes. That seems to be, when we have a decent weather year, they get pollinated good, and we have a normal weather year, if there's such a thing anymore as normal. We do have a good bit of grapes, and we love our grape juice. So we'll head down this next aisle. We're just about through the garden here. We've got some early cabbages and sweet potatoes growing here. The cabbages will be completely gone and done by the time the sweet potatoes really take hold and start sprawling, because the sweet potatoes are going to grow the width of these aisles and all the way down through this lettuce, which will all be harvested and gone by the time the sweet potatoes get rolling. So you'll see me plant sweet potatoes sometimes amongst stuff, but it's all stuff that's going to get cut off. And by the way, that's what will happen with these. When the cabbages are harvested and it's time to get the plant out of there, never pull a plant. So it's part of leaving the roots in the soil to decompose for the microorganisms to use. Also creates air pockets where those roots were, just like the worms that you aren't disturbing, creating air pockets. I can stand out here with a hose and just stand in one spot, and the water never quits going down. The water doesn't run off these beds. It just keeps going down because there's such great soil structure there from the lack of tillage, the lack of destroying that structure. There are aggregates in the soil. It's made all these passages from the worms, all these passages from the decaying roots that are there, and the water just filters right into the ground. Till your ground and get 3 inches of rain and tell me what happens. We're going to have some crap washed out because the soil can't take it now. you've removed all that structure when you've tilled the ground. So yeah, we can take a lot of water. We've had 4 inches of rain here in the last probably 2.5 weeks. And never was there a time where there was any water standing anywhere or there was any wet spots. It just goes right into the ground. And these aisles have been here for 40 years, and it's just every year I put 3 or 4 inches of wood chips on the aisles. So there's depth to these aisles of wood decaying material, which in my opinion, having raised beds with wood chip aisles is the best, simply because of all the fungal activity coming from these aisles and channeling into the beds. Another subject matter for another episode. We've got some lettuce here that we better start eating pretty soon. It looks like it's just all about mature, and I think I need to probably give some lettuce away here. Got a lot of lettuce. Climbing beans, rattlesnake beans, and a zucchini that I'm really proud of, because this zucchini went through 2 freezes. I put this thing out. I had a lot of zucchini plants. And I put this dude out, and it got froze and it looked really bad. And I held my other plants back. And then I kept watching it. It looked like it was going to live, and now it's taken hold, and now it's even got a little zucchini on it. And this is the 1st of June, and it's doing good. And I started that one from a seed too. It's got some powdery mildew on it, as you can see. But again, I mean, it's the weather. You can't fight every disease, every ailment on every plant. You take your losses and you take your wins, and you go through the year, and that's gardening. You know, you're never going to be able to be perfect with everything. But if you're doing enough stuff, you're going to have all you need, and that's all we should be worried about. Do we have what we need? So this is another variety of garlic. I couldn't tell you what it is, to be honest with you. It came from my daughter. Got a lot of chamomile. We've planted more. We're trying to make up some, we want to try doing some new tea blends this year. So probably tomorrow, maybe, I don't know. We'll come out and start doing some more harvesting. We did one batch. We were a little bit green with it, and we didn't like the flavor of it. So we decided we needed to go a little longer with this. So onions. I don't know if I've got enough onions planted. I'm not sure. I think I have less than I normally do. I had trouble finding onion plants. I didn't start my onions this year. Normally start them in January. Just didn't get to it in January. And once you get past that window, you might as well buy plants. It's the only plants I've bought was the onion plants. And normally I wouldn't. Normally I would start my own, because you've got so much more variety in what seeds you can get and buy. And then if you're savvy, you can save seed unless it's a hybrid. So got some dill that grows up. Just, this is all volunteer, and let it go, man. Dill's great. Dill's great to have amongst your garden. Some pests don't like dill, and then there's always dill at hand. You can come out here and grab fresh dill whenever you need it. Got a few broccoli plants here behind me that are making a head now. I generally like to grow my broccoli in the fall, but this is going to make nice heads. I wished I would have planted some more, because this was the year for that stuff. Cold, wet. All your brassicas have done well, you know, this spring. Some more beetroot here. We're going to try to incorporate beets in our smoothies for the nitric oxide that's in the beets. Really good for your vascular system. Yeah, some more tomato, and I can even see some flea beetle damage on the tomatoes. They also will show a little bit of damage there. So flea beetles this year. Red cabbage. I got a cabbage here. I don't know, must have had a bunch of cabbage that froze out, and that one survived, and this making a head, so let it go. These are purple sweet potatoes, yeah. I had red sweet potatoes planted here, and I rushed them a little bit. I don't think they were rooted good, and I put them out before we got that 3 inches of rain, and they got root rot, and they just died back. So I had some more in the greenhouse, and we plugged them in the other day. They look fine. They're going to sunburn a little bit. Whenever you put those plants out in the direct sun, you know, those leaves are going to sunburn, and new growth will come out, and it'll be fresh and bright, and The sweet potatoes, they love July. That's their month to shine. June, they just kind of struggle through cool nights, but you got to get them out. You got to get them growing. They like the warm soil. I left this uncovered for a little bit without any mulch on it to try to warm the soil just for a few days, and then I planted and then I mulched it. Yeah, see, I was talking about weed seeds. Here's a burdock seed right here. You know, you're going to bring seeds in when you bring hay in, but it's just not a big, huge problem. The bigger problem with weeds is the buried seeds that every time you run that tiller through the garden, you bring back up. A lot of weed seeds are 20-year viable, you know, so, or more. So those seeds could lay dormant for years and years, and as soon as you till, you bring them right up there where the heat gets to them, moisture gets to them, and off they go. Tell me what happens. Tell me what happens when you go in your garden and you till a strip or two, and then you just walk away from it for a month. Tell me what happens. It flushes with weeds. That's the earth's way of trying to heal itself. The earth doesn't want to have bare soil. This is a natural thing, and we're fighting it. You know, it's just, don't fight it, roll with it, you know. Anybody that needs horseradish, just let me know, I'll hook you up. Horseradish is, you cannot get rid of horseradish by digging it out or trying to dig it out. All you will do is make a bigger horseradish patch. This is some new chamomile we've planted here, kind of obstructing my aisle a little bit. And a cover crop behind me here. This is a Kentucky crimson clover. It's an annual clover, and if you've never, I just letting this bed rest. And this cover is feeding the soil, preventing weed growth, putting nitrogen into the soil, and going to provide a bunch of forage for my chickens as well. It will bloom a beautiful columnar red, bright, brilliant red bloom in about 2 or 3 weeks, and they'll be awesome. It'll look cool. I had tried planting some corn in amongst this, but the corn, you can see a few sprigs of the corn. It was just an experiment. You can see a few sprigs of the corn in there. You know, it never had a chance, really. It just didn't have a chance, but I wanted to see, and you can see corn coming up through here. I'll let it go. It was an early variety of corn. I had some extra seed. I think it would work if I had planted the corn first, because I plugged the corn in. I just took a dibble and stuck it through the clover, and it had already come up a couple inches. But I like to play around with stuff like that. Living mulches, that's what that's about. And I did that with my raspberry patches for a while. I planted Dutch white clover in the raspberries. It made a beautiful mat of white clover under the berries. I had no weeds. It kept the moisture level high in the ground. It was pulling moisture from down below. The nitrogen was being put into the soil. A win, but the clover just doesn't have a lot of longevity. It slowly starts to die back out, the perennial clovers. This is an annual here. These are red potatoes. These are Yukons. I had a different potato up there called Kuka Gold in another bed. I'm just growing those for seed. They're an offshoot of the Yukon Golds. They got great flavor, but the plants are a little more resilient. The Yukon Gold potatoes are kind of wimpy, I think, in terms of the plant overall health. No comparison to a red potato with very, very vigorous growth. But flea beetles pretty much across the board. Across from the clover, when we plant our potatoes and we take the best of the chits that we use from our last year's stored potatoes, you're always going to have a bunch of extra ones that you don't put in the garden. And so I pot them, and starting probably in 2 weeks, we'll dump a bucket out every week or two, and we'll have fresh potatoes, new potatoes, small potatoes, maybe only, you know, a couple inches around or smaller, red and Yukons both. Real handy. Just dump them in the wheelbarrow, shake the potatoes out, take them in, boil them. They're like heaven, man. They're really good. New potatoes from your garden are really good. We have another garden too. Up behind the garage, there's corn. There's some sunflowers growing. There's a shade room I've made for summer lettuce. I've got some loofahs growing up there, some peppers, some cucumbers, a few other things. That was a new garden just 3 years ago, I think I started. I think I've maxed out now. I got plenty of garden space. More blackberries, thornless blackberries. We'll have a few, but we won't have a crop. Normally we'll pick 20 gallons of berries off of this patch. I'm thinking 2 years straight we picked like 18 one year and 20 one year, gallons. That's a lot of berries. This year, you know, it won't be anything like that. It might be 5 gallons maybe. We'll do something with them though. This is my orchard, and these aren't trees just planted in the yard. I'm trying to create environments amongst the trees that encourage a lot of beneficial insects. But I got to tell you, I mean, and people will say this, that garden and organically garden and homestead, growing fruit, particularly apples, peaches, cherries, plums, all those fruits organically is tough. There's some great sources out there to get information and great sources to get to know what to do as far as spraying. But organically, it's really got to do with timing. You've got to hit the timing just perfect on every step. And it's at a time when you're in the middle of trying to garden and you're also trying to do the orchard, and the wind's blowing 40 miles an hour, and it's rained for 4 days right when you need to be doing this or right be doing that, or it's too cold. We had a really rough spring. So we've got some fruit. We're gonna have lots of berries. We're gonna have some apples and some peaches, no cherries, they got froze. But again, every year there's always something that thrives and there's always something that fails. It's just the way it is. So when you talk about, oh, I'd like to garden, and you don't know where to start, and what's this no-dig gardening? This is 2 examples here of, I just came out here in the yard. I laid out what I wanted to do and I tarped it. First I mowed it. I mowed it as short as I could mow it. I think I actually took the weed whacker and just scalded the ground right down to the bare ground. And then I tarped it. And I left it like that for probably a month in the summer. And when I was convinced that everything under there had died, just lack of being able to photosynthesize, I pulled the tarp off. I loosened the soil with a broad fork a little bit just because it was compacted yard. And I made a frame and I put compost the width of this bed, probably 40 inches, maybe roughly 36, 40 inches. I made a frame out of 2x4s, and I began to fill that with compost, and I just kept moving it up, moving it up, moving it up. So I probably added 4 or 5 inches of compost. This is just from the yard, no tilling. Okay, so that was 3 years ago. And I did the same for these raspberries here. I did the same for those blackberries we just looked at. All started in the yard, never broke, never tilled it, never did anything to it. Killed what was there, left the soil alone, and started adding food for the microbial biological action that was happening in the soil. We've picked berries galore off of these, and this was not good soil here. This was pretty clay. It didn't have a lot of organic material in it, but just in a short period of time of adding compost yearly and starting out with a pretty good amount of compost, you can garden in a yard. You don't even have to own a tiller. I used to have a Troy-built tiller. I used it faithfully in my garden. I was out here just churning away, fighting weeds, not understanding what was really going on. I sold that tiller 6 years ago when I started no-till gardening. It was something I didn't even want to have around. I didn't want to get tempted to use it. You don't need it to start a new garden. So these are red raspberries. We'll be harvesting leaves off of this here probably any time in the next week or two for sure, before they bud out. These are black raspberries, my favorite for jam. This has been a good patch. I had some other patches I tore out. They were sketchy. They'd been in there for many, many, many years. And so like anything, every now and then you need to rejuvenate your beds, start a new one, take some starts, go to a different location. You're controlling something here that doesn't really want to be controlled. What this plant wants to do in nature is to grow long and tall, tip root down, root there, then go and root there, and then root there, and keep moving all the time. When we're trying to maintain a plant in a bed and in the same location, so there is a lifespan to these when you garden them like that. I mean, my dad grew raspberries in the same place for my whole lifetime. So I say that, but the plants do get weaker with age. Every year you're looking for 4 or 5 strong new canes. This is called a primocane, first year. This is a floricane. This was last year's new growth, which is now full of berries. These are different. These you can cut to the ground and have one harvest in late summer, which is what I did. I prefer that. The red raspberries are totally different. They will bear twice a year naturally. They will bear early in the summer and then late. But I left no last year's canes, and that's what they would be fruiting on. So they'll fruit on the first year canes too. That's you get a bigger crop all at once, and that's the way I prefer to do it. That way you're not out here picking berries all summer long. You've got about a 3-week window, and then you're done with berries. Great in smoothies, absolutely great. So there's a lot of trees back here. We won't go around and get all of them, but we've got flowers growing everywhere, lots of bushes, lots of plants that have just taken over. And again, this was all started from yard. I laid it out. In the case of these beds here, I left one step out. After I loosened the ground, I covered the ground with a layer of cardboard all the way the width of where I was adding the compost. That ensured that my weed growth wouldn't resurge as it got some moisture and was able to come up through where the plastic had been. That cardboard will degrade in about 6 months, and within a year it's completely gone. The worms will just eat it up. You're using cardboard that's not got plastic tape on it, cardboard that's preferably got no colored ink on it. I was lucky enough to know a guy that had a resource for just plain sheets of cardboard at a cardboard facility where they were cut wrong, and I got truckloads of it. So wherever you can get it, that's really handy to use when you're starting a brand new garden out. So yeah, there's apple trees, there's peach trees, there's 4 different kinds of apples, Liberty, Cortland, Fuji's. I can't recall that new tree that I put in there, what variety it is. But this is what we're doing here, and we're getting by. We're getting by with the fruit. It's hit and miss. Down below, I have 2 runs of probably 20-some plants of grapes, Concord grapes, great for making juice. There's a row of elderberries down there. We're going to try to dry a bunch of those for tea this year. So what I'm trying to convey here today is that this is a long project for me. This is a 40-year gardening project. So I got a big jump on a lot of people that want to start out and in terms of the quality of the soil, but it's something that's an investment in a garden, in a place that you know you're going to be for a while. If you've got good sun access, you can grow food. You can grow really good food. And that's not what you're going to get at the grocery unless you're buying organic. And if you buy organic, hats off to you. If I had to buy all the produce that I grow, I don't know that I could afford to do that. It's not cheap. Organic produce is high. It's coming down. I mean, more and more people are getting on the train, but it's still very expensive. We buy from a facility in Oregon a lot of stuff, and it's not cheap. The things that we can't grow, the things that we want to eat that are mostly a lot of dairy products too. We don't have a cow here. We've got chickens, but no large livestock. So it's beneficial and rewarding to do this, and it's not that difficult to do once you have an understanding of how the principle works. So today I just wanted to show you, yeah, it's possible and we can do it, and I got a reasonably good idea of how to do it. And I want to convey that to people as much as I can. That's a mission that I'm on. So hopefully that you'll come back, look at us again, and we'll dive into specific subjects and we'll get really heavy into them. And well, I'd encourage always, if you've got questions that you want to ask, to shoot them to us and we'll see what we can do. We're going to try to do this maybe once a month throughout the summer. My counterpart is going to have some videos as well on her subjects. So I'm looking forward to spending the summer with you, and hopefully we can learn some things together. I've got some, uh-oh. Did it go in my pants? Yeah, I feel it going down my leg.
Okay.
Technical difficulty.